All right, we're back. Break time is over. So what we are going to do now is pick up where we left off. So now we have our functional OpenStack instance listening on SSL for Keystone, and I believe we may have to also update Horizon. I don't think we did that, so we're going to also have to do that before we actually get started with our federation configuration. So let's see. I'm going to adjust my title here real quick to Keystone. All right, I think that's a little better. Okay. Yeah, there we go. Setting up Keystone Federation with mod Auth Mellon on Rocky. That's where we're at. So, let's see here. Just get my bearings straight. I kind of hate to take breaks. Sometimes I lose my focus. What was I doing? Where was I at? Oh, man, and I left my drink downstairs. I'll have to just drink out of this bottle. Okay. Now, I need to go make a change to my internal DNS server real quick. Let's see, what is our IP address that we're working with here? All right. And let's just verify that works. Uh-oh, what did I do wrong? Oh. I-N-T-E-R. I can't spell. I-N-T-E-R. There we go. All right, there we go. So I'm going to hit that in a web browser real quick. And I'm pretty sure this is not going to work because I forgot to set up Apache to handle Horizon. We only did it to handle Keystone, so let's see. Yep, okay. Alright, let's fix Horizon real quick. And looks like 15. And then we're also going to go ahead and enable our SSL here. Just copy and pasta from one of my old servers. Although we can't do that in here. Let's see. Let's switch this bad boy over to 443. Paste. Yep, that looks good. May have to make a few other changes. Then we need to restart Apache real quick. Come on, let's get restarted here. You can do it. You can do it. Come on, come on, come on, come on, come on. There we go. There we go. All right. And let's refresh and see if we're a little happier this time. Nope. What is the matter? Better go check some log files. Okay. Hostname control. And we have this named. There we go. Alright, that's a little happier there. Let's see if we can get Apache to be a little happier. Come on. There we go. Also, I kind of wonder if SE Linux is going to be cropping up to destroy my success. So I'm going to go ahead and get enforce here. And okay, it was already off. That's good. I do not recommend that in production, but for the purposes of this demo, we are strictly trying to show how to get Federation configured with mod Mellon. And so you're going to need to do your homework on, you know, how to configure SE Linux with all the right bits and pieces for the certs and the other things that we're getting ready to add here in a couple of minutes. So it just makes it easier for demo purposes for it to be off. Okay. Okay, I think we've got that good now. Let's try this again. And I might actually have to open a new web browser because I may have had, I've got that aio.mrice.internal is that I may need to flush that from my DNS cache. Let's see here, how do you do that on Windows? Is it ipconfig flush DNS, I think? Yes, there we go. Okay. Oh, and I did not do that right. I did RDO for the name on there. Okay, we're gonna have to update that cert real quick because that is not gonna work out for us when we go to set up the Federation. The CN has to match the host name that we're gonna be listening on and everything. So we need to update that. So let's do open SSL. And we're going to rename these to OpenStack. This is okay. Okay, now we need to restart Apache again. For anybody tuned in over on the YouTube stream, feel free to come over and view this on Twitch at twitch.tv/VertDevNinja. If you have any questions, we'll be happy to answer them over there. That's where I'm monitoring chat from at this time. Okay, now let's try this again. Okay. I believe we're going to have to open up some firewall ports because I cannot seem to get there from outside the internets. Yeah, I believe that may be the problem here because I'm not seeing a rule for 443 on here. Yeah, just HTTP. I'm not seeing an HTTPS. Okay. And hopefully this will work. The rule may be too far down, maybe rejecting before we even get there, so let's see. Oy, yay. What the heck is this called? Nope. Oh man, I have not used this stuff in a long time. I forget how to do it. I just want to flush all the stupid rules. Oh, there's no utility anymore for that shit. Yay. All right, now it works. Terrible idea, but Again, this server is literally only going to be up long enough for this demo to be shown, and then I will be wiping it out. So, and now, OpenStack, hooray! Okay, that's all I need to see. All right, so now my horizon is also on HTTPS. Keystone is on HTTPS, and let me just verify that Keystone admin, that I can log in with this username and password. Alright, I'm in. Okay. Because the changes I make, I want to make sure that don't break anything. So, I'm in the OpenStack dashboard now. So, let's see here. Let's add a Windows source real quick so we can verify that all together. Why you now show? I don't know why it's not showing up. See the cursor, but I don't see the window. Huh. Well, we'll just have to keep going without it. Too bad. I don't want to waste a bunch of time trying to show you an OpenStack dashboard when you've already seen an OpenStack dashboard. So, back to it. Alright. So now that that's done, now we're ready to start configuring Federation. In order to even get any further, we're going to need mod Auth Mellon. So we're going to start with installing mod Auth Mellon. And you've got a couple of choices. There's Shibboleth or mod Auth Mellon. And the reason that I'm going with mod Auth Mellon is there is significantly less documentation to help you get going with mod Auth Mellon. In fact, you're watching this now because you want to know how to do this with mod Auth Mellon, not with Shibboleth. If you wanted to know about Shibboleth, you'd already have it done because it's done in so many places. There's OpenStack talks on it by C. Murphy. She is fantastic. You can watch her video, and she'll get you up and running in no time with Shibboleth. So here we go. We're gonna yum install -y mod auth Mellon. And this will probably be your preferred route if you're on like a Red Hat or CentOS box, because Shibboleth is not, you can't install it unless you go add extra libraries, things like that. So, you know, or not extra libraries, but you'll have to go add an extra yum repository that's not official and things like that. So, but mod auth Mellon it's there if you're on RHEL, it's there if you're on CentOS, it's there. So it should be your go-to choice if you're on one of these distros. All right, so we have that installed now. When you install that, it adds some files. It adds some files to your system. KG. And we're going to need to delete them. Some of them we're going to keep. So we're going to delete this file, and we are going to keep this file. Then we are going to need to run this command, this Mellon create metadata. We're going to need to use that. Now, I've rewritten this script. I have not published it yet, but I will be publishing it, I think next week sometime. We've got to go through the Git history of all the work I've done and make sure we're just going to flatten all the Git commits out of it and just flatten it into one commit before we publish it publicly, because there could be some stuff in there we don't want to release. While I was doing dev work, I don't necessarily want to expose out all the passwords and anything like that might have accidentally made its way into the repo. So we're just going to squash it and basically just upload a fresh copy that after we've had a chance to go through it and make sure that there's nothing in there that shouldn't be. But this particular script, I'm going to go ahead and run it right now just to kind of show you with the help. It doesn't take very many options. It takes 2 options. I found to automate this process, I wrote some Ansible playbooks. That's what I'll be releasing here in the next week or two, is some Ansible playbooks to automate this if you're on OOO. But anyway, in order to automate it, you need to be able to provide in files and out files and cert names and, you know, a bunch of various options. And so I've rewritten this script to use all those options. And in fact, I might just throw that script up on a gist just for this purpose and link to that. So if you do want to use it, because I'm going to use it here, I find it's a little easier to use personally. So let me just go ahead and toss that up on GitHub real quick. Of course, it probably won't be real quick because I have to 2-factor auth in. Okay. And just the name of the script. What is the name of the script? Mellon create metadata.sh. All right. Create that as a public gist. Okay, and I'll post the link to this script in the description on YouTube, and on Twitch you just you know, I'll put it in the chat. All right, there we go, chat. Now let's go ahead and get that copy of that on the server here. Whoops. Rename that. Forgot I was going to do that. Mellon. And let's make that executable. Okay. And so now when we run this, what did I do? Oh, good night. I needed to grab the raw, and I did not grab the raw. I took the whole web page. There we go. Okay, so I added some more options to the script and made it a little bit more clear as to what your options should be, especially if you're using it for OpenStack. So I feel like it's a little better this way. Hopefully you'll agree, but so you create this. You can name your key file, name your cert file, name your metadata file. Then this is your entity ID. And this is the base URL for Mellon, okay? All right, so hopefully that'll make more sense by the time we get done if you don't know what any of that means. But let's go ahead and run this now. So I'm going to make a directory called Mellon files, and I am in the root home directory right now, so I'm going to cd into that. dash K is keystone fed key. Okay, and then minus C for our cert file. We're going to call that one keystone fed.cert. And that fed just means federation in this case. Okay, and then we're going to have our metadata file, and we're going to name that Mellon, just like the example. If I can type. And now for our entity ID, and in this case it is going to be aio.mrice.internal slash, colon 5000 slash v3 slash Mellon slash metadata. Then our base URL is going to be rice.internal colon 5000 slash v3 slash Mellon. And you want to leave the trailing slashes off. Don't have any trailing slashes here. Alright, so we have the K, the C, the M, the E, and the B. Alright, all done. So that created 3 files for us. That created keystonefed.key, keystonefed.cert, Mellon metadata.xml. Now, these are going to be our service URLs for use with Mellon. Okay? This one is going to be a very important one here. This assertion consumer service with the post response. This is going to be one of the most important URLs you're going to need from this. So there's the files that got created. Let's go ahead and take a look at the Mellon metadata.xml. So earlier in the video 1 where we were setting up our OpenStack server, I mentioned that if you were going to use self-signed certificates and you were going to use ADFS as your identity provider, that you were going to have kind of a bad time because you weren't going to be able to just point ADFS at your service provider and suck in the metadata. That way you were going to have to manually import the metadata into ADFS. Well, this is the file right here that you're going to need. So you can pop this thing open. And we see here we've got our entity ID defined in the entity descriptor. Okay. Now, if you want to change the values of any of these things, you have to do it by hand. The script does not support any additional options. So you'll have to do those yourself. Okay, and if for some reason you have lost or forgot the URLs that got printed out below, it's been a while, doesn't matter. Don't worry, open your metadata file, and those are listed inside in your in the entity. Or we're in the entity descriptor still. Yeah, those are listed in your entity descriptor. Okay. With your assertion consumer services, those are the most important ones. Okay, and they're indexed at they start 0, 1, 2, and so on. You can have as many of these as you need. But your first, it goes in order. It'll start at the first one. So later, when we configure Okta as our identity provider, this is going to be the value that we use when it asks us for the URL. This will be the URL that we are going to use. Okay. So let's go ahead and move on. All right. Now, the next thing that we need to do in order to... So the way I'm going to do it is I'm going to set up all of the Apache stuff first, and then we'll go back and configure OpenStack. Okay? So we're going to get all the Apache config laid down first and verify that that works. Hey, what's up, bub? We're doing some, we're configuring OpenStack with Keystone Federation. It's the most glorious topic that you can think of. All right, so we're going to take and get the Apache stuff working where it serves up metadata first. Mod status acquired, yep. And once we have it so that Apache will service a metadata file, then we'll move on to configure OpenStack to utilize Federation logins. So we're going to move into the Apache config directory. And remember I said there were some files added when we installed this. We're going to take a look at them real quick. Where is it? I know I put it in here. I'm blind. There it is. All right, so this is just going to load up our Apache module for us, and we can verify that that's right. Yeah, I got the green screen. I got it in yesterday. Got it all configured, and then I got frustrated with my ISP. They were dropping packets like crazy. I was having so much frame loss I couldn't. Streaming it's like I was on dial-up, and it actually turned out to not be my ISP. For some reason, OBS had decided to upload my content to Hong Kong Twitch, and so no. As soon as because I kept doing speed tests, I called the ISP, and they're like, no, there's no problem. And I was like, whatever, there's a problem. And they had me go into the speed test site, and it's like, well, maybe there's not a problem, I don't know. And so I get back into OBS and start looking, and it had switched from Central Texas, or whatever the US Central in Texas URL, to Hong Kong. And I was like, holy shit, no wonder we're having packet loss. It's freaking going over the ocean. I don't know how they thought that was the shortest path, but fixed that and problem went away. So no doubt it might be wrong, especially if he was in there clicking around. You know how he gets. All right, let's see. Modules D. Okay, now we need to go to the conf.d. Okay, and another so Mellon, the Auth Mellon. You know what? We can leave that. We don't need to delete that. And we're gonna drop one more directory, and we're gonna move that Mellon directory that we created, the Mellon files. We're going to move that to right here and just call it Mellon. Alright. And I believe those permissions are going to work out just fine. Alright, so go back into our conf.d directory, and we're going to do a Mellon, just a generic mellon.conf. Oh, you mean without the without that? Okay. All right. So now we need to add our Mellon config. And for that, I am going to rob. Whoa, what the shit? Control C, buddy. Control C. Okay. I'm going to rob that from my Ansible playbook. Okay. So, we're going to make a few changes. So remember we named our Mellon metadata file to Mellon metadata .xml, and this was Keystone fed dot, what is this, the key dot key and this is the cert. And so we need one more XML file, and this is going to come from our identity provider. So in our case, we're going to be using Okta, and so I'm going to name it Okta metadata .xml. And we don't actually have this file yet because I haven't gone and created the application in Okta, and so it doesn't exist yet. And so if we try and start Apache with this file missing, we're going to have a bad time. Apache is going to be angry, and it's not going to fire up. So we're just going to touch an empty file. I could wear a green shirt too and just make it go away, but all I own are white shirts basically, and then I have a few I don't know. Alright, so we're just going to touch an empty file. I don't know if that'll work for sure because Mod Mellon may get mad at us, but we're gonna try it. So, and here in a few minutes, what I'll do is go over the values in these location directives. But for now, we're just gonna put this in here and we're gonna move on because all we want to do is make sure that Apache will give us metadata from Mod Mellon. What is this for? So it's for OpenStack. This is what I do for a living. I'm an OpenStack developer, and OpenStack is like a cloud services platform, like services or platform as a service. And so it is a way for you to orchestrate like virtual machines and network resources and storage resources and things like that. So, you know, like AWS, this is a similar thing to AWS. It's just an alternative. Microsoft has a product called Azure that would be similar. VMware has like vSphere, which would be kind of similar. None of them are like exactly the same, but those are, you know, kind of the same type of thing. And then this specifically is how to take mod Mellon, which is it's an Apache module that will let you do SAML-based authentication. And SAML is like a secured markup assertion language. It's this XML protocol type thing that sends you go one place to log in, and then it redirects you to another place to the services you're trying to get access to. It's real popular in very large enterprise-y type setups. No, man, everything I do is open source. So like all the code that I write for work, we publish it on the internet for free. Even after I talk about this, right, like the only people that are going to want to use this are going to be, I don't know, people that are in a position like mine where they're just stuck and you're like, oh man, how does this freaking work? If you're like, let's say one of our customers thought, oh, well, I'll just go watch the video. Well, what happens when it doesn't work? Or if it does work, what happens if it goes down? Does the guy that just copied my work, is he going to know how to fix it? Right? Like, you still, your big customers and people that want, people that actually want to have like uptime and things like that, they're still going to come hire a professional company like ours to know that someone's available 24 hours a day to take care of a problem. And then we're subject matter experts. We're not somebody that's having to Google every step of the way, like, oh, how does this work? What does that do? You know, we'll be able to go, oh, I can't access this thing. That's this, that's that. You know, we'll be able to solve it real fast and minimize downtime and stuff. So this more is, they kind of like us to do work like this because it helps customers see that like they employ like real subject matter experts at stuff. So plus this isn't job security for me. I wouldn't want to do this exclusively. If we hire a new person on our team, I'm sticking them on Auth big time and saying, hey, go watch these YouTube videos because I'm done with Auth. All right, so we need to go touch that file that we created, and we called it octa metadata.xml. Okay, and that should be all we need for Apache to be happy enough to start giving us metadata. Let's try it. And if any of you folks are tuned in on YouTube watching this live stream, feel free to come over to Twitch at twitch.tv/vertdevninja, and I'll be monitoring the chat on Twitch, not on YouTube. Oh, we're not happy, and I bet it has to do with that empty XML file. Okay. Let's see. Nope. Can't open our files here. Okay. Let's see here. Well, let's check journal control, see why it's bad. Oh, had a typo. Yeah, let's try that again. Come on, come on, come on, come on. No whammy, no whammy, no whammy. You can do it. All right. Oops, where in the hell am I? Oh. Make a new directory because we moved the other one a minute ago. And now we are going to curl a -k to ignore self-inserts. mrice.internal 5000 v3 Mellon. Come on. Metadata. Oh, boo. Got a 500. Not happy. Let's see here. Better go figure it out. Var log messages. Whoops. log keystone error log. Wait, that's not the error. There's the one we want. All right, so it's mad because we have given it an empty file. Okay, so I don't know why it cares about that. We're not trying to auth right now. We just want a copy of our own metadata. Key file. All right, let's check both of those and make sure we didn't typo something, because that happens a lot. This is all we wanted to give us. We just wanted to serve this file. Okay. See what options we have in there. Just check that general. Okay, nothing in there. Okay. And one last look at that error log. And what was the timestamp on that? 40. It's at 40, so. Okay, yeah, the XML parsing is invalid. I wonder if we just throw in something super duper generic, if it would be happy enough to give us the thing. Is this the pancake stack? I'm not really sure what that means. Sounds like some epic trolling though. I wish I had a pancake stack. I'm hungry. Let's see. Maybe I'll just go create the application in Okta real quick. That way we can get a valid file. Alright, so from Okta you can get a free account. Just go to dev, I think it's like dev.okta.com or something like that. You sign up for a free account and you can get SAML applications with that free account. They're kind of limited, but they're not so limited that you can't do this as a proof of concept if you need to. So I'm going to create a new application, and when you're in Okta to create a SAML, your own SAML application, you're going to want to switch from the default view to the classic UI. And then you'll go to applications and then add application, and then it's going to be a web for the platform. And the sign-on method is going to be SAML 2.0, and then you click create, and then you just give it a name. And I'm going to name this one AIO for all-in-one .rdo.example. And you can name them whatever you want. It doesn't matter. And then I'm going to leave the rest of the stuff default. So the very first question it asks is for the single sign-on URL. And if you'll remember, when we ran the what directory are we in? I wonder. If you'll remember, when we ran our generation script, it printed out a bunch of URLs, and I said, oh, if you don't remember those, don't worry about it. They're in the metadata that we created. The very first one it wants is this one. And then the next thing it wants is your service provider entity ID. And that is up here at the top. That's what this is. The entity descriptor, entity ID, that is what this very first one is. And then you're going to need some attributes. And so I am going to do just 3 basic ones. I'm going to do first name, and for a value, Okta provides user.firstname. I'm going to add another and do last name. And Okta provides you with user.lastname as well. And finally, I'm going to do email. And email is what we're going to be using to map users in OpenStack. So, and that one is going to go user.email. You can add group attributes. I'm not going to be doing that in this demo. This is strictly just to get us going. And thankfully with Okta, that will let you preview the SAML assertion. So if you're using ADFS, you're not going to be able to preview that. It's kind of a pain in the ass. You'll have to, you'll just have to like capture the assertion with something. I use on Firefox, I use a tool called SAML Tracer. And so you'll have to capture that. And then also if you're on ADFS, by default, it's going to encrypt the entire communication, like the whole assertion. And so during debug, I often recommend that you disable encryption, or you're just going to have to go decrypt it yourself, which isn't hard because you've got the keys that it was encrypted with. It's just kind of a pain. But then we'll hit next. And the last question it asks from Okta is, are you a customer or a partner? I just put in here, I'm an Okta customer adding an internal application, and then I do not answer any of the rest of the questions. Just hit finish. And then it will take you to a part where your app is at. And from there is a link to the identity provider metadata. And so you're going to want to copy that link address. and then we'll just need to pull it down. So and again, these are values you don't want to share with people, but I'm only having this thing up long enough for this demo to work. As soon as it's done, I'm going to be blowing away the application in Okta, and I'll be blowing away the the cloud server this is running on. So it's not a big deal to me for right now. So now I'm going to move that metadata file to Okta metadata.xml. Yes, we want to override it. And now we're going to go ahead and restart Apache again. And when that comes back up, we should be able to pull metadata from our server now. Come on, you can do it. Do it, do it, do it. There we go. Let's see into here. And let's try our curl command again. And boom, we got it. So it is now serving metadata where it's supposed to. Hooray for us. All right, now we're ready to move on and configure OpenStack so that OpenStack will take advantage of this. And this is a process, to say the least. It's just a handful of commands, quite a few. Let me high level go over what you have to do. So, at kind of a high level, the tasks include making sure that the domain that your remote IDP users are going to map to exists. So let's do that right now. We're going to use the default domain so that we already know it exists. And so we need to source our Keystone admin file. And you don't want to use the demo file here, you need to use the admin user. So we're going to OpenStack domain list. And we just need to make sure a domain exists and what it's called. And it is default, it's the default domain, and this is what we're going to use here. So that exists. The next thing is we need to know the project that we're going to map these users onto. And it does not exist. In fact, before we go any further, let's create the mapping file so that you'll know exactly what we're mapping, so that you'll know what we need to create. Let's see here. Bet I have an example map file. Of course. All right, so we need to create a mapping file first. And we're going to call this rules.json. And so the file, or everything in here is going to have to be in JSON format. And I'm just going to paste in a very primitive example. Oops. Try that again. There we go. All right, let's talk about what's happening here. So in this mapping file, we have a remote and we have a local. On the remote, we have a type Mellon underscore email. And remember I said we were going to take, when I was creating that Okta app, I said that email is what we were going to use. Well, when ModMellon parses the assertion, it's going to prepend Mellon on all of the attributes that come through. So if we wanted to access first name and last name, we would need to do a type, and then we would need Mellon underscore first name, Mellon underscore last name, like that. And so in this mapping, we're saying that we're going to take people that have a valid email, and we are going to map them to a local resource. And the group and the domain that we're going to use is called the federated domain. But I said we were going to just use the default domain, so I'm going to change that. And I believe I need to use capital for the name. And then the group is federated users. So we're going to need to create a group in here called federated users. And then it's going to map to the actual user name in OpenStack this this right here. This is going to map their email to their username. Okay? So we needed to ensure the project exists. So let's do OpenStack project list. I believe that's just a group. Forget. Yeah, that's good. Okay. Next, we need to do ensure user which remote IDP users are mapped to exists. We're not doing that one. Ensure the group exists. So on that one, we said on our rules.json that the group name is federated users. So we need to create a group called OpenStack group list. Let's see what we have. Probably have to supply a domain. Oh, we don't. Oh yeah, we can. And we want that to be federated users. Here. Actually, we are going to need to create that project. So, OpenStack project. To roll. Man, I gotta pull up the old documentation here because I have this all automated in an Ansible playbook, and trying to read that is not fun. Okay. So we need a domain, we need a project, we've done that. Now we need the group, we've done that. And so now we add, all right, the roles. Here we are. OpenStack role add, and then the group is federated users. The domain is default. Okay, and then we'll need them to be members. I believe that's right. Let's see. Yeah, all right. Then we're going to need to OpenStack role add so this is going to add our group to the domain into the project. So that added it to the domain, and next we're going to add it to the project. It's federation, yes, SSO, and we're using Okta as the identity provider. Stack role group federated users. What did I call that project? Fed project. They need to be member. Next thing we need is to create an identity provider object in Keystone, which represents our identity provider that we will use to authenticate the end users. Now, that part. To hop on my other server just to make sure I rate this one correct. Oh my God. Oh shit. I can't check my local server anymore because I updated my internal DNS to point to this. Fancy. Wah, 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 wah. Like what off the shelf? Are you saying like to use ADFS? Yeah, okay, I thought so. All right, so that's essentially what we're doing. No. ADFS with Okta, that's... So, you're talking about two identity providers at that point. Okay, so Okta is an identity provider, and ADFS is also an identity provider. Keystone, in our case, is a service provider. And so you have to have an identity provider to provide the identity to the service. And so in this case, we're going to use Okta as the identity provider, but we could also just as easily use ADFS. But what would they do for me, right? I still need a service that they provide, or that they are providing identity for, and that's where OpenStack is. So OpenStack is going to use Okta, but I still have to configure OpenStack to direct me to Okta or to direct me to Active Directory Federation services so that I can log in, and then ADFS and Okta will point me back at my resource, at my service, which is OpenStack, and say, hey, here's a SAML assertion for you to check out. It passes all our stuff, you know, are you good to go with it? You dig it? So we are using something off the shelf, but we still have to configure OpenStack to utilize it for authentication. I don't understand what you mean, online authentication. Yes. Yeah, you sure can. Okay. So let's get back to this here. So where are we? Okay. All right, so we've got an entity ID that we need to use here. And our metadata. So we need Here's our OpenStack command. So OpenStack identity provider create. And then it takes a remote IDs parameter. And so in this case, we need to get that entity ID from the metadata, which I just got. And that is what we'll use here. Oh, yeah. Okay. And then we're going to name it, and we're going to call it Okta. Uh-oh. Did I typo it? Oh, it's added an S. There we go. All right. That makes us happy. And so if you notice, we named it Okta there. So I'm going to pull up some of those config files that I said, don't worry about that. We'll cover it in just a minute. Okay, so if we come down here to this location directive, we've got our v3, Auth, OS Federation, identity providers, and see we have it Okta here. So if you do not name yours Okta, let's say you're using ADFS or some company generated thing, one login, whatever you want to name it, you need to make sure to update this Apache directive line because it has to match the name of the identity provider that you just created. Same here, okay? This has to match what you just created for your identity provider. Okay, there's some more stuff in there that we'll cover in just a moment, and we'll come back to it like we just did when we get to that. All right, so now we have our rules. I feel like there's still something missing. Where is that? Oh no, that's done. Okay, yeah, here we're fixing to do that. All right, so we've already created our rules file. The next thing we need to create is a federation protocol. And we have to map, let's see, the protocol. We'll just read this. A protocol contains information that dictates which mapping rules to use for an incoming request made by an IDP. An IDP may have multiple supported protocols. All right, so here we'll get that started. Okay, and then the mapping that we created a moment ago was called, what was it called? I already forgot what I named it. IDP mapping. That's not what I called it. Did I skip it? I may have skipped it. Oh yeah, we didn't load in our mapping yet. I did skip it. Okay, so we created that rules.json file. And we need to load that and name it. So OpenStack mapping create rules using our rules.json file, and we are going to name this Okta mapping. Why not? Doesn't matter what you name it, you're just going to have to be consistent and use that in other places. So just use something that makes sense. I'm going to look at my other server and see what we named it over there. Yeah, so normally what I do is name it company name underscore rules underscore mapping. So if I'm on a contract for a given company, I'm going to name it whatever the name of their company is if it's not too big. And so we'll just do this one as example because that's all this is, and it is a rules mapping. There we go. All right, and see that shows us what the rules are that we just added. Okay, and now we create the protocol and link it to the mapping. Okay, and that's going to be OpenStack Federation Protocol Create, and then we're going to name it SAML2. And then we are going to map it to example rules mapping. And then we are going to tie that to the identity provider that we just created. Up here, where did we create that? Yes, here, named Okta. Right? Yes. Oh, what did I get wrong? D-E-N-T-I-T-Y. Did I? Oh, I missed a dash. There we go. All right, now we're cooking with bacon. And I think that may be it. Now we need to go update Horizon so that we can log in. Let's try that. So on this one, it's OpenStack dashboard, local settings. And we need to enable web SSO. Whoa, hey, what just happened? Okay. Then we're going to set this. So it's going to give us a drop-down box in Horizon when we get done here. And we want the default choice to be credentials. If you want it to be your SSO, then you could change that here. Okay, so now we need to uncomment this, which is that one. And we're going to rename this to man, I'm awful with this new keyboard. Okta SSO. All right. Now remember that we named our protocol SAML2, okay? So it's important that you use that protocol right here. And I know there's one other thing we need to do here. And that is that we need to tell, I don't think it's in here by default. I think it's just something we'll have to add. Let me pull up the proper syntax real quick. Let's see. know that we're missing something. Let me look at my playbook. Now let me look at this documentation. I know we're missing something. We have to set up the mapping. Because it is not going to know which protocol to use. Where is that? Probably all the way at the bottom of the docs. Keystone. Oh, maybe that. Oh, maybe that goes in the Keystone. Yeah, okay. Hang on, that goes in the Keystone config. Yep. So many files to edit. Okay. Whoops. So this Mellon IDP for the remote ID attribute, that is required. That is what tells your, that's what has your auth info, like your username stuff in it. And then we need that trusted dashboard. Let's see. We also need the SSO callback. It's down here, right here. Let's go with Y. Okay, and that's going to be where Keystone redirects us and everything so that we've got for Horizon to work properly. Okay, and then under our auth section, here we need to add this little magic bit. Okay, and this part that says SAML2, that is got to match the protocol that we created. Okay, and then we need to tell it SAML2 and map it to an authentication plugin. Okay, and in our case, it's Keystone Auth plugins mapped map. And I think we're getting really, really close. Yeah, I think we're just knocking on the doors to being done here. So let's go ahead and give that a test. Let's see, we need to restart. I think restarting Apache should be enough because we need Keystone and Horizon restarted. Come on, come on, come on, restart. Today. There we go. Okay. Forgot to assign users to the project. Helps if you do that. All right, now we'll try that again. Oh, got an error. Looks like I have a typo. I do have a typo. Save. Let's see, where is my screw up? Alright, gonna have to turn on some Keystone debugging. Oh, restart it. Man, I'm hungry. I smell my nuggies. It's hard to smell Chick-fil-A and not stop and eat it. Come on, come on, come on, come on, come on. Jesus. Okay, we're screwing up somewhere else because it's not even giving us any errors up there. Okay. What? I'm going to say this is probably a change in Rocky. Unless I've typoed something in that file. Etsy Keystone. Ah, got to disable that bell. Whoa. What's that saying? No matches, no keystone. Wallet.cl2 driver found. I know. I named it that. And then I wonder if they renamed their map drivers in Rocky. Aye. Auth plugins. Okay. Well, there's mapped. Let's go check out that file. User. Python, site packages, Keystone, Auth, mapped. Plugins, mapped. Keystone, Auth, plugins, mapped. There's mapped. What the hell? Why is that not working? Keystone, Auth, plugins, mapped. Let's see. Keystone, Auth, plugins, mapped. Mapped. What is wrong with that? Man, I hate that this isn't working. And I know that's right. There's got to be something. This has got to be some kind of weird change with Rocky. Wonder. Why would that not work? That is so weird. Well, I don't know. I'm going to have to look into that. Well, let's see if the Rocky documentation mentions anything about that. so frustrating. Why isn't that working? I feel like we're either missing something that I skipped on the config, which is probably the most likely thing because there's so much to this. It's got to be that. It's just got to be what it is. Gotta skip something. Okay. Let's see here. I think I know where I'm screwed up. Very frustrating. That's we have that. It's gotta be this. It's got to be this mapped thing. It's the only one that makes sense. Have to fall to IRC. Maybe somebody on the Keystone chat can help. Saturday night, 8 p.m. almost. Odds are slim to none that anyone will still be around to answer. Man, I'm going to be sad if I have to end this with a broken thing and then do it again. I don't want to just sit here with it being broken for very long. Especially considering my food is getting cold. I'm going to eat. Let's see. Be right back. All right. Well, dinner has been eaten. And now to try and get back to this. Just as I expected, no one is available in the Keystone chat right now. That's all right. We'll get through this. Let's see. I am going to start by installing Firefox. Why Firefox? Well, I need to check out all the SAML. Actually, we can just do a preview of the assertion real quick, and if that doesn't have what I hoped it would have in it, then I'll install it. I'll install it so I can put the SAML tracer on. Let's see here. Since Okta is so kind as to provide us with a preview SAML assertion, just make sure all the stuff it's got in it is correct before we go chasing down the wrong thing. Okay, that's right. That assertion looks good. Okay. Cancel there. Now we'll head back. And let's just verify that we've got Apache set up just right, because you never know. Okay, and we want to come down here to our location directives. Oh wait, I'm sorry, that is it's in our Mellon config. Okay, so SAML, and SAML, okay. Okta, okay. Let's just check our OpenStack protocol list. I swore it was protocol. Federation protocol. Why on earth is it trying to hit that? Oh. Let's just change this. Now, this very well could be part of our problem. That's not good. Well, this is certainly not good here. We can't even OpenStack endpoint list. Nothing's going to work. Okay, that's happening right now then. Keystone.auth plugins.map.mapped. Well, why can't you load that? Let us try to load this from the Python command line. Well, we can do it from here. Why can't it do it from there? What if they change the import? Well, that made it worse. And I'm only going to give this a couple of more minutes before I just end, and then I'll have to redo this again once I figure out the fix. The Auth plugin, keystone.auth.plugins.saml2.saml2 has been removed in favor of the Auth plugin, keystone.auth.plugins.map.map. That is why we are using it. Why isn't it working? Super old news. Dang it. Ugh. I just don't get it. I don't know. I don't know. Unbelievable. I'm going to end because it's going to take a while to dig in. I'm going to have to load up a debugger, figure out why this thing is, what it's doing when it tries to load that command or plugin. So I should probably do that in this so you can see how to run things like GDB and stuff, but I ain't got time for that. Get too frustrated. So unfortunately we'll have to end on a broken note, and I'll readdress, and hopefully, man, maybe there's a bug and nobody's found it yet and we'll be the first ones to find the bug. Seems unlikely, but at this time it kind of seems like there's not much other choice. It's failing to load a plugin using the correct syntax. Shit, we were able to load it from the command line even, so I don't know what else it could be. So I'll kick this back up again eventually, but in the meantime I'm gonna dig into this with GDB. So thanks for tuning in.